Director and actor Rob Reiner has confirmed to NBC News that Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found stabbed to death in their home here in Los Angeles. They lived in the Brentwood community. This is an upscale community here in LA. And according to LAPD, firefighters were initially called to that home around 3:30 this afternoon from a call of an apparent homicide. Two people, a man and a woman, were found dead in the home, a 78-year-old and 68-year-old man and woman. Now, LAPD has not confirmed those identities, but NBC News does have a source confirming that it is Rob Reiner and his wife, who have been together for some 36 years. They have 3 children together. And again, Rob Reiner is just an iconic figure here in Hollywood, known from the 1970s for his first big role as Meathead in All in the Family. Then, of course, as the director of When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride. This is Spinal Tap. In fact, I just interviewed him a couple months ago here in LA for This is Spinal Tap 2. He was out promoting that movie most recently. And of course, he's also known as a political activist. Just extraordinarily tragic news here tonight. There is a large police presence outside the home right now, and we are awaiting an update from LAPD. We're expecting that they'll give a press conference in about 10 minutes or so. Jessica.
Liz, what are you hearing about why police were originally called to that residence in the first place?
At this time, we have very little information. They were called to the home from apparently a homicide. Of course, when they arrived, they did find those 2 people deceased. They have not said anything at this time about a suspect. We do know that Rob Reiner has 3 children, adult children, but we do not know what the motive here is as the situation is. It's all really unfolding at this time.
Liz, I know that you have a lot of sources, a lot of friends in the celebrity world out there, in the Hollywood world. I mean, when you look at some of these movies that he had such a hand in, When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, Stand By Me, as you said, he has left a legendary impact on Hollywood and beyond. What are you hearing from those close to him and those in the industry tonight about this death?
I think this is still so raw and so new that we are not even yet seeing the outpouring of comments and condolences that are about to come flooding in. I mean, we are talking about somebody, we're showing Meg Ryan here, who has been responsible for some of the most quotable, iconic scenes in film history. I was saying to someone earlier, when I was interviewing Rob Reiner a couple months ago, he was talking about how his own mother was the woman in When Harry Met Sally who says, "I'll have what she's having." He has left an indelible mark on film history. This is extraordinarily stunning news. And again, we hope to learn more about all of, what the motive may have been, why this may have happened at that press conference, Jessica.
All right, Liz, stand by for me. Let me now bring in former ATF Special Agent in Charge, Jim Kavanaugh. Jim is also an NBC News law enforcement analyst. Jim, thanks for joining us tonight. What are you hearing about this investigation, and specifically why police and the LA Fire Department were called to that mansion in the first place?
Well, it seems like they had a very violent death there. 2 people stabbed to death. Is what's been confirmed by NBC. And, stabbings are very violent, bloody encounters. Maybe someone found them. Maybe they survived and were able to dial 911, because all news reports are that the paramedics arrived almost an hour before the police. They got there first, so they're responding to some type of an emergency. And they could have been found or called themselves. And I say it would be a very violent, bloody affair. That's the way stabbings are. There's a lot of twists and turns that could happen here. I mean, it could be an unknown assailant or assailants. It could be someone known to them domestically. Homicide will have to, rule out that it wasn't between them, although there's no indication of that. But they always have to look at that. But LAPD Robbery Homicide Division is very, very good. I've worked with them before. They're very proficient. And they will already have a good, strong lead on this, Jessica. They already know the direction that it's going to go. That doesn't mean they know who did it necessarily, but they already have a direction. They've been able to read that crime scene. There's a lot of evidence in these scenes. There's there's bloody footprints, there's blood on the assailant. It's very hard to commit a crime like this and not transfer a lot of evidence between whoever's responsible and the victim. So I'm sure they're fanning out across L.A. now if they have any leads at all on the suspect.
So when you have such a large home in a community like Brentwood, tell me specifically how hard it is to sort of shore off that crime scene. And does the investigation change when it is a person of Rob Reiner's stature and celebrity?
Yes, it's really easier in a facility like that or a home that large because it's easy to wall it off. It's easy just to make the home secure. You have a large area. And in a stabbing crime, it's probably mostly inside. So they'll be able to deal with that crime. Now, some of it can spill out into the porch or the courtyard, of course, but they still mostly have control of that. It's not like it's on a city street, on a bustling downtown area. So it's better for them to control it. And yes, you're right. When someone's of a famous person, a celebrity like Mr. Reiner and his wife were, I mean, all kinds of people are curious and aghast at it and sorrowful, and there'll be all kinds of people involved. And that works both ways for the detectives. Helps them get leads and information because everybody wants to help them solve it, but it also brings in a lot of information that they have to manage all the time. And whenever you have a high-profile case, just like we watched it, in Brown a few minutes ago, a lot of things change, and the detectives have to deal with it.
When we look at the nature of this apparent homicide, like you said, violent, bloody, stabbing, does that give you any insight or clues as to the relationship that the couple may have had to the suspect?
Well, it's hard to totally surmise that because an assailant can carry a knife and think they're breaking into a home and then be approached by the homeowner and then the assault can occur, or it could be someone they know. It could be someone they let into the home. The doorbell rings, they know the person, they let him in, and maybe there's a dispute. It can be domestic, family, it can be business, it can be neighbors. It could be anybody they might have had contact with. So it doesn't mean they don't know the killer or killers. Or it could be that it's a complete stranger home invasion, which happens every day in America. So when you're in a wealthy enclave like Brentwood, sometimes those are targeted by people. So we really can't tell yet, what those possibilities are. And homicide, once they walk around that crime scene, they're so practiced and they're so trained and they're so experienced, they can read that scene very fast and be able to make some big, major lead categories that they need to follow. And they'll be able to do that very quickly. There'll be, like I say, there'll be blood trails, there'll be blood in there. Is the knife or axe or whatever the sharp instrument was there? Is it still there? Is it missing? There's a lot of things for them to see and help them determine what exactly happened.
All right, Jim, stand by, please. Let me now bring in former Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best. Carmen, good to have you with us tonight. If you're the police chief in L.A. or any of the detectives on scene, what are you trying to read from that scene the moment you arrive?
Yeah, well, as Jim mentioned, there are going to be a high number of possibilities of what could have happened there in terms of whether this was a home invasion robbery or some other type of close family member or neighbor or what happened. So we just want to try to get the assessment of what we have, lock down the scene, inner perimeter as well as the outer perimeter, make sure that we have all entrances and exits, cordoned off, that we are taking pictures of everything that's at the scene. It's too early to speculate on anything. Right now, they're just fact-finding, gathering evidence, gathering any video or footage or phone calls or other information that might lead them to down a trail of figuring out what might have happened here. It's very unlikely that this is a mutual thing. It could be, obviously, a suicide situation. Highly unlikely considering that it was a stabbing, but they'll have to look at that piece of evidence as well to see what was going on there. So they're just going to try to gather as much information as possible and lock down the scene and not have anybody contaminate the scene, either neighbors or others.
Carmen, if you're at that scene or you're in that neighborhood, who are you immediately trying to interview in order to try to glean more about what happened?
Well, it sounds like somebody made that call to 911 initially, so we definitely want to find out who that was. And just to start backtracking there, who saw them last, who talked to them last, who has any information on their cameras, at their facilities, any other types of cameras that might be available. If somebody broke into the house, is there any evidence of that? Were they let in? Is there a vehicle that was used that left the scene? Obviously, if that was the case, as Jim mentioned, there would be a lot of evidence, blood evidence and that type of thing. So they'd want to track that down as immediately as possible as well. So those are the things you want to be looking at right away.
And Carmen, same question I had for Jim. When you're dealing with victims of this stature, of this celebrity status, does it change how you go about your investigation? Does it complicate things?
Yeah, well, every death is an important investigation, and status is not going to change that. It does change, of course, the amount of information coming in. It can work, as Jim mentioned, both ways. Certainly, you want to get as much information as possible. There will be a lot of people who are going to be providing information. Also, there'll be a lot of people getting in the way of the detectives trying to do their work because they want to be helpful. So, obviously, they're going to take in as much information as possible. When it's somebody high profile, there'll be a lot of information out there, a lot of people who are interested. And so that can be both, helpful, in some cases, a little bit of a hindrance. But you want to have more rather than less to start on.
For sure. Jim, I want to now bring you back into the conversation. We are expecting a news conference to come out of Brentwood with LAPD within the next 10, 20 minutes. What do you expect, or what do you hope that we will hear from this investigation, from this news conference, rather?
Well, it's so preliminary. I mean, this happened just this afternoon. It's possible that they could have a suspect not in custody, and they already know who it is. I mean, that would be lightning fast, but it's possible. And they could identify a person, whether a stranger or someone known to the Reiners, and, tell us he's in custody, or she or they. And so we'll see how fast that moves. But it's pretty fast right now. If somebody did this attack on the Reiners and got away, unless they have security cameras that's showing them the event,
is that impromptu?
they're going to have to piece it together. Mm-hmm.
All right, Jim, we're about to go to a. Okay, sorry, Jim, we've got a lot of moving parts, so just forgive me as we figure out what's going on here. I missed the last piece of what you said. Certainly, we don't expect that a suspect has been caught yet. Do you think that we will learn more about the nature of the actual killing, whether there's a weapon that's been found, and how long do you think that area will be closed off for?
Well, it'll be closed off all day tomorrow, I'm sure, at least, the very least, for forensic processing. They may not tell us exactly if they have a weapon or not. They may tell us the cause of death, stab wounds, and they may tell us the manner of death if they are sure it's a homicide. So they could tell us, in broad strokes, the cause and manner. But they may not tell us exactly if they have a weapon in custody. There's something they're going to want to know that only the police and the killer knows. And so they don't want to release every little thing. They're going to want to be in broader strokes. Like I say, it's possible they could have a lot of information already, and they could be releasing some very significant information and asking for the public's help. When you get into the big cases and you get all this information, this is what happens. I mean, just like Brown University, a suspect tip comes in, somebody says, this guy, that, and you've got to go out there and interview the person, talk to them, find out if they're the person or not. And a lot of times they're not the person. And, that is pretty routine in a big case with a lot of publicity. And it's not unusual at all. So, I've had it in many, many large investigations where thousands of leads come in, where we get tips on people. I've had detectives and agents pound my desk at the command desk, swearing this is the guy. And I said, well, let's go find out. Let's investigate. Let's see where he was when the killing happened. Who is he? Let's match the forensics. Is it really his gun that shot the people or not? Let's find out and let's prove it's either him or not. And I think what we saw in Brown was they know it's not him. And they proved it to themselves forensically. And so, he doesn't need exoneration. He's already exonerated because we're all innocent unless we're charged with something. So he's exonerated. They know it's not him. It was just a lead. That's all. And what we're going to see in L.A., we're going to get some broad stroke information from the police tonight. I'm sure we'll have the chief out there and the homicide commander. And we'll get some direct talk from them, I'm sure.
We're being told specifically that the robbery homicide division responded to that home. Does that tell you anything, or is that typical in an investigation like this?
PD has an elite unit, the robbery homicide division. I've worked with them before, and they're very, very thorough, very polished, very good team of detectives, and that's just their title in LA. In other cities, it's homicide is split from robbery, and but in LA, it's the robbery homicide division. So, no, that's not really telling us anything about the motive. That's just their team of detectives that would come on this kind of violent offense, major violent offense.
All right, Jim, stay right there. It looks like this press conference in LA is about to begin. Let's listen in live.
I'm gonna wait for the beeping to stop, and then we'll get going.
Thank you, guys.
Again, we are awaiting a press conference in Brentwood, California right now after news that film director Rob Reiner and his wife have been found dead inside their home in an apparent murder, an apparent stabbing. That's according to sources close to NBC News. Let's listen into the latest.
I'm the Chief of Detectives for the Los Angeles Police Department. I'm going to give a brief statement, and then we're going to address any questions that we can. I understand there are going to be questions regarding what occurred here tonight. I will not be able to provide information in a lot of areas that questions may be getting asked, but I'll do the best I can. So at approximately 3:40 this afternoon, Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, they determined that there were 2 deceased individuals inside of the residence. The Los Angeles Police Department is now conducting an investigation at this residence here on Chadbourne, and that investigation will continue over the coming days. We will not be releasing any information regarding who was found deceased in the residence, because that will be done by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. So if there are any inquiries regarding the identity of the individuals that are deceased inside of the residence, that information will come from the LA County Coroner's Office. The current death investigation that is being conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department is going to be handled by the Homicide Special Section of Robbery Homicide Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. That investigation will move forward through the night, and tomorrow morning we will probably have additional information regarding what occurred here on Chadbourne and our investigation moving forward. We will not be releasing any further information regarding the investigation that is occurring here in Brentwood tonight. Our detectives will be responding along with our Forensic Science Division and our Technical Investigation Division investigators to conduct a full crime scene investigation and determine the appropriateness of the investigation moving forward. At this time, the Los Angeles Police Department is not seeking anyone as a suspect or as a person of interest or in any other manner, and we will not be doing that until we conduct our investigation and we move forward. That's all I have right now at this early preliminary stage of this investigation. If you have questions that I can answer, I will answer them. I would just ask you, please, if we do not have the ability to answer the questions, that you remain patient over the coming hours and over the coming days. Starting tomorrow morning, we will be responding and providing additional information as it becomes publicly available. Pete.
We know who actually made the call that brought fire department and police officers here. Has that person known? Can you release who it was?
So we understand that the person reporting was here at the location. We're not going to release any information regarding the identity of that individual at this time.
We're being told that
Hold on. One at a time, please.
We're being told that a family member is being interviewed in connection to these deaths. Can you confirm that? And is that family member being cooperative?
There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try and speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Chief, why are you not looking for a suspect?
I'm sorry.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, so I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding...
Good evening. I'm Jessica Layton in New York, and this is an NBC News special report. There is shocking news out of Hollywood tonight. Famed film director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, have been found stabbed to death in their home in Brentwood, California. A press conference is ongoing, but first, let's get to Liz Kreutz, who is following the very latest. Liz, what can you tell us about this tragedy?
Yeah, Jessica, this is just stunning news tonight. A source close to Rob Reiner has confirmed that the legendary actor and director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, have been stabbed to death in their home here in Los Angeles. Their home is in Brentwood, California, an upscale neighborhood here in the city. According to law enforcement, the call came in around 3:30 this afternoon. The homicide investigative team responded, and police have said that 2 people were found deceased inside this home. A 78-year-old and a 68-year-old, a man and a woman. And again, a source close to Rob Reiner has confirmed the identities as the legendary director and his wife, who have been married since 1989. They share 3 children. Rob Reiner also has another daughter from his previous marriage to Penny Marshall. And this is just, as we're getting this news, sending absolute shockwaves through Hollywood. Rob Reiner is just an iconic filmmaker, responsible for some of the most legendary film scenes of our time. When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, This Is Spinal Tap. Of course, he made his name originally in the 1970s as Meathead in All in the Family. We are having a press conference right now from the LAPD is what's ongoing, and they have not confirmed the identity of Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner. They have not identified a suspect, and right now they have not said anything about a motive here either, Jessica.
Liz, what sources are telling us is that it was an apparent stabbing that killed the couple in their LA mansion tonight, their Brentwood mansion, rather. I know that you recently interviewed him. Tell me about that conversation and what you recall from speaking with Rob Reiner just a short time ago.
Yeah, I interviewed him at the end of September as he was promoting his most recent film, This Is Spinal Tap 2, the sequel to his famous mockumentary, This Is Spinal Tap, from the 1980s. And it was with him and Christopher Guest and the other actors who were made so famous from that movie, and they reunited. And this was actually the only sequel that Rob Reiner has ever made. And it took him several decades to finally decide to make this sequel. And you could just see how beloved he is as he was surrounded by his fellow actors that he has worked alongside for decades. This is somebody who is extraordinarily well regarded. Has worked with every, Jamie Lee Curtis, Christopher Guest, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. We do have a statement that's just come in, Jessica, from the mayor of Los Angeles here. She's saying this is a devastating loss for our city and our country, that Rob Reiner's contributions reverberate throughout American culture and society, that he has improved countless lives through his creative work. And also, she goes on to talk about the work he's done in the political space, fighting for social and economic justice. Here in LA, she talks about some of the initiatives that he's spearheaded. He was particularly influential in the LGBTQ movement to legalize gay marriage here in California and overturn Proposition 8. And she goes on to say, I want to thank all of the first responders who were called to this tragic event, saying the investigation is ongoing tonight, Jessica.
As you mentioned, he leaves such a huge huge imprint on Hollywood and beyond, and also all of the work he did as a political activist. I know you just read that statement. I'm wondering if you're hearing anything else from friends of his or other celebrities in Hollywood tonight, although I imagine that the news is just starting to sink in.
Yeah, I've been checking the social media accounts for some of those we know he's closest with, also his adult children as well. We haven't seen any of those posts at this time. Again, I think that this is a shocking development. It's also the first night of Hanukkah. Rob Reiner is Jewish. He would maybe perhaps be celebrating with his family tonight. And we don't know who the suspect is. Police have not identified anybody at this time. We don't know if this was somebody who knew the Reiners or somebody outside. We know that they live in a large mansion with high hedges and what looks like to be a big gate and security around this home. But a lot of questions still tonight as this investigation unfolds.
In fact, Liz, one of the questions at that press conference before we came to you was a reporter asking police, are you speaking to a family member? So, Liz, please stay close. We have other breaking news that we want to get to right now. Authorities in Providence, Rhode Island are saying that they have released the person of interest in that deadly shooting at Brown University yesterday. The man has not been charged. You will recall 2 students were killed and 9 injured. The suspect at this hour still on the loose. So let's go straight to our national law enforcement correspondent, Tom Winter. Tom, this is a shocking development for all of Rhode Island and especially the families of those victims. What happened in the 16, 17 hours that they had this person of interest in custody that made police say, actually, this isn't it?
Right. So this investigation started approximately after 4:22 on Saturday when shots were initially fired at the city's campus, and just before 6 a.m. this morning, there was an individual who was in custody, described by police as a person of interest. This individual had apparently, according to our reporting, there was a kind of a unique component or part of the gun that witnesses described. And when law enforcement entered this person's hotel room at the Hampton Inn in Coventry, Rhode Island, approximately 40 minutes southwest of Providence, that they were able to see a similar type of weapon. There were also some information about some other evidence that they were able to uncover. The Providence officials and Rhode Island officials describing as a quantum of evidence that led them to this individual. But tonight, there is apparently not enough to put state charges on this person, and as a result, they are going to be scheduled to be released from police custody at some point here in the near future. So that's what we know so far. What we don't know is what evidence was developed over the course of the day and the afternoon, and clearly there have been some developments, because just 6 or 7 hours ago, police said that there would be no further briefings tonight. And then within the last couple hours, that radically changed, and they called a press conference for 10:30 p.m., started 11, and delivered the news that this person was going to be released. The Attorney General, Peter Nerona, former U.S. Attorney for Rhode Island, somebody who's been in law enforcement for a long time in that state, just said, look, at this point, they don't have the evidence that they need, that there might be something that points them in a different direction. They're going to continue to work their case. They have executed a number of search warrants and are waiting to get some of that information back, and said that some of the information that they're trying to get or testing that could be done is still underway. So at this hour, the headline is clearly that a person of interest who police had said just within the last 8 or 9 hours, they were not looking for anybody else, is now scheduled to be released from the custody of the Providence Police Department. And as the mayor of Providence, Brett Smiley, readily acknowledged, this is going to add some anxiety for the Providence community. Rhode Island, the smallest state in the union, very close to Massachusetts, Connecticut, obviously. You can go from one end of the state to the other in about an hour. So this is going to really raise anxiety statewide there. It will be interesting to see what information can come up. The governor of the state of Rhode Island, Governor McKee, saying that he's been on the phone with the FBI director, Kash Patel, And apparently the FBI has offered all of its assistance. They've been helping out with this investigation, and they were one of the agencies that helped lead to this initial placing of a person of interest into custody. So where this goes from here, a lot of questions here tonight about this investigation, a lot of questions of whether or not it'll come back to this person of interest, or if in a day or several days' time we'll be talking about somebody entirely different. But certainly quite a 180 of a change of events here in this investigation.
All right, Tom, thanks for your insight tonight. That concludes this NBC News special report. We have much more ahead on our streaming channel, NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com, and we will have a full wrap-up tomorrow morning on Today. I'm Jessica Layton. We thank you for watching. Back to our continuing coverage now on the tragic death of Rob Reiner in Brentwood, California. A press conference there just wrapping up. Let's go back to NBC News' Liz Kreutz with the very latest. Liz, what did you hear in that press conference that stuck out to you just now?
Well, I think what's really notable, Jessica, is that police at this time are really not giving a lot of information. We now know from a source close to Rob Reiner that tragically he and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, have been stabbed to death in their home in Los Angeles, but police would not confirm the identities. And they also said that they don't have a search warrant right now for a suspect. And they were very vague when answering questions around who might be responsible for this. They said that they need to get that search warrant and then they'll begin a full investigation. They are talking to neighbors at this time as well. We did, though, get a short statement from Tracy Reiner, who is Rob Reiner's eldest daughter, an adopted daughter he had with Penny Marshall. He was married to her prior to his marriage to Michelle Reiner. And Tracy, on the phone to our entertainment correspondent, Chloe Malas, said, "I came from the greatest family ever. I don't know what to say. I'm in shock." And I think that's going to be the sentiment around the world tonight, Jessica.
Liz, during that press conference, did police say who found the couple or perhaps who made that 911 call?
They did not say that at this time. I think that's going to be a huge question that people want to know, is who found these Rob Reiner and his wife in their home. We know this happened around 3:30 this afternoon. It's Hanukkah, so the family may have been celebrating or beginning a celebration around the holiday. Rob Reiner is Jewish. We don't know who made that call, but whatever that call, whatever was said on that call, prompted the homicide investigative team to arrive on the scene. And there remains and continues to be a very large police presence there tonight.
You know, this death of this couple not only sends shockwaves through LA, through Hollywood, but really through the country, because it wasn't just his impact on Hollywood, right? It wasn't just the movies. It wasn't just the TV and film. He was an incredible activist, political activist as well, very passionate about the LGBTQ movement, very passionate about equal rights. And I'm curious if you can tell us more about the conversation that I know you had with him in September, where I know he really made a mark on you.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan, like so many of us, of Rob Reiner and his films. I mean, When Harry Met Sally, it's like a film everybody watches every year around New Year's. And I think he's just been a part of the cultural fabric of our country. And so it's tragic, this news tonight. And I had the extraordinary honor of being able to interview him just 2 months ago as he's been promoting his newest film, This Is Spinal Tap 2. It is the sequel of his famous mockumentary from the 1980s, This Is Spinal Tap. And what just struck me meeting him was how extraordinarily beloved he is. He was there sitting with the other actors, including Christopher Guest, who's also well known for these mockumentaries, kind of reunited for this film. And it's like they just snapped right back into their, he called it schnadeling, their improv. He was so gracious, so funny, everything you could have imagined Rob Reiner would be, and so happy. And it's just, it's a stunning loss tonight. And I so many questions about how this could happen.
You know, Liz, as you're up on the television right now, we have you next to photos of Rob Reiner, and every picture is a warm smile, a genuine smile, where for as huge as he was in Hollywood, right, he also had that warmth and that approachability about him. At least that is what we have heard from folks who knew him. Liz, stay with us. We want to go now to the phone where Mark Malkin, Variety's senior culture and events editor, is joining us. Mark, thanks for being here. I'm wondering how this news hits you tonight and what you're hearing from friends in Hollywood.
I mean, this is a tragedy that's just completely unbelievable. People can't comprehend exactly what's happening. You know, to hear that Rob Reiner is dead along with his wife, and to hear that they were stabbed to death, it's just something that is just so incomprehensible. Like your reporter who was just talking, I was with Rob at his last public appearance, which was the premiere of the Spinal Tap sequel back in September. His whole family was there. All the kids were there. Michelle, of course, was there, his wife, because she's also producer on the movie. And Rob, as Rob always was, he was in a good mood, cheerful mood, so happy to be there. This is the kind of guy that, remember, he comes from, you know, Hollywood royalty. Carl Reiner, Estelle, his mother Estelle. This is someone who could have coasted in life, but no, he made his mark. When you look at his credits, his film credits, it's just an unbelievable, unbelievable resume.
And as I was just discussing with Liz, Mark, it's not just the film credits, it's the work that he did to get others equal rights, his work in the LGBTQ space, his work as a political activist. Talk about the mark that will leave, not only on Hollywood, but beyond.
Listen, you know, gay marriage in California may not have happened if it wasn't for Rob Reiner. This was a man who stepped up. He co-founded a group that really spearheaded the legal challenges to the ban on gay marriage. He got Ted Olson, who is a conservative, a very conservative attorney, to join their fight because he said it's a civil rights issue. It's not a political issue. I remember many, many years ago when that fight was going on, he was behind a performance of a play called 8, which was basically just a reading of the court cases that overturned the ban on gay marriage. So, you know, this is a man who obviously his legacy is so far. I think there are probably many people who don't realize, who are getting married today, who don't realize that Rob Reiner played a very, very big part in that.
Mark, I can hear in your voice that you are deeply affected by this. Tell me how Rob stood out in Hollywood, in a place where... Go ahead.
This is a guy who stood out because he was just he was very real. He was very down to earth. You wouldn't know that he grew up in Hollywood, that he grew up around, you know, the greatest comedic actors of all time. Remember, his dad was Carl Reiner. You know, he had a childhood home that was full of the greatest, you know, Hollywood icons ever. But Rob kept just very, you know, down to earth. He was married to Penny Marshall for many years. They adopted a daughter, Tracy. And then obviously he married Michelle, and they were just so loving. You never heard anything about Rob Reiner that was negative. And when he was on a red carpet, which, you know, is really my main thing that I do for work, he was just always there with a handshake, with a smile, with a baseball cap. He wasn't a fancy guy. He was very down to earth and just really cared about other people. You know, he's sort of in the mold of a Norman Lear, and it's not surprising that, you know, Rob started his career in Hollywood on a Norman Lear show and All in the Family as Meathead. We all remember him as, you know, many of us remember him as Meathead, and, you know, that left its mark forever. To this day, sitcoms model themselves after All in the Family.
And for you personally, having gotten to know him through your work, how will you remember him?
I'm just going to remember the guy with the smile, the guy who, you know, had no airs about him. You could see him walking down the street. You would never imagine that this was a guy who was behind some of the greatest films of all time. Stand By Me, When Harry Met Sally, Princess Bride, Spinal Tap, and obviously he got to finally make that Spinal Tap sequel, which they wanted to do for many years, but it got caught in all this business affairs and rights, and they finally got, it's fitting that his last project was the Spinal Tap sequel.
I'm on your website right now, Variety's website, and it says we lost one of the few good men. What is next in your reporting for Variety on this tragedy?
I think, the next, like everyone, we want to know what happened. How did this happen? Why were Rob and his wife, Michelle, stabbed to death? Who did this? Why did they do this? And that's, everyone wants answers, because you don't have closure until we have answers.
And can you even imagine how celebrities and how Hollywood will even begin to pay tribute? I mean, just obviously it's such a shock right now. I'm sure people are numb, but how do you appropriately show respect and love for someone who is really larger than life in this space?
I think you're going to start seeing, and you're starting to see it on social media already, where people are, grieving and mourning the death of Rob and Michelle. I think, in the days and weeks to come, there are going to be memorials. I would not be surprised if there were TV specials that were set up remembering him. Would not be surprised if there were documentaries or, in the works shortly after this, because this is someone, we want to remember, and that people have to remember for generations to come, because he really did impact culture that much.
Mark Malkin of Variety, thank you so much. I know this is a personal loss for you and the entire industry. We appreciate you being with us. Let's go back now to NBC's Liz Kreutz, who continues. Thank you, Mark. Let's go back to NBC's Liz Kreutz, who continues following this story. Liz, any updates since we last spoke with you a few minutes ago?
Well, we are starting to get a number of statements pouring in from people shocked about this loss. We've heard from Kathy Bates, the actress. She's put out a statement saying, "I'm horrified hearing this terrible news, absolutely devastated. I love Rob. He was brilliant and kind, who made films of every genre to challenge himself as an artist." And then she goes on to honor his wife, Michelle, saying she was a gifted photographer. She shot my beautiful photos for the Misery campaign, and that my heart breaks for them both. My thoughts are with their family. Filmmaker Paul Feig, famously of Bridesmaid and many other films, he's tweeted that Rob is one of my heroes. I had the honor of calling him a friend. I pray this isn't what it sounds like. I just saw him and Michelle 2 nights ago. And even that statement shows you how quickly this is all unfolding and how many questions there still are about what happened. And then on the other side of this, like you've been mentioning, his political activism, we've now got statements from both California Governor Newsom and Nancy Pelosi here speaking about both his impact on the arts and film, but also in the political space. Governor Newsom speaking about how he was a passionate advocate for children and civil rights. He says from taking on big tobacco to fighting for marriage equality to serving as a powerful voice in early education, he made California a better place through his good works. And Nancy Pelosi as well, calling this just a devastating tragedy, saying it's hard to think of anyone more remarkable and excellent in every field and endeavor that they pursued. Rob was creative, funny, and beloved, and Michelle was his indispensable partner, intellectual resource, and loving wife. Jessica.
It really is double the tragedy and so hard to comprehend because they both had such a meaningful impact on the arts and on the industry in California. Liz, what are we hearing about a possible suspect? Have LAPD said that they are still looking for somebody? It didn't come across that they were urgently looking for a killer during their press conference.
That was my interpretation as well from what we heard from the LAPD press conference there, and it definitely left some questions open. You could tell reporters there were trying to pin that LAPD officer down, trying to understand, okay, you're not searching for a suspect. Shouldn't you be searching for a suspect? Wouldn't neighbors be worried? So that remains to be unclear exactly who they're looking for. Perhaps they have an understanding of who may have done this, but they have not identified that person or given any indication at this time of a motive. So that remains the really big question, and why this happened. We were looking up, their home is in a very beautiful upscale neighborhood of Los Angeles, a large mansion with high hedges and a big gate that would have a decent amount of security to get into their home as well.
All right, Liz, stand by. We're going to go back now to Jim Kavanaugh, the NBC News law enforcement analyst that we have standing by to give us some insight into this investigation. Jim, I'll actually ask you the same question I just asked Liz. It didn't sound like a lot of urgency to find a suspect in that LAPD briefing just a little while ago. They also didn't say that the community should be concerned or that they're searching for a suspect. So what do you make of that?
Well, they're in their initial methodical stage of examining the crime scene to determine, the manner of death. Now, they've told us the cause of death is stabbing. That's what we know, and NBC News has confirmed that. But the manner of death is different. So homicide has to first look at this and say, could it be a suicide, a murder-suicide? I think that's unlikely. Usually those are not stabbings, but they do happen. So homicide can't say, oh, probably not. They have to look at it clinically and see if that could have occurred. Once they're sure that's not occurred, then they can move on and say, okay, we think it's a homicide and a double homicide. And so how many assailants do we think were present? And that would be determined by, the easiest way would be security cameras, of course, or bloody footprints, the room where the attack might have happened, or the rooms where the attack might have happened. And when you get into stabbings and those violent confrontations, it can be running. People can be running, and they can be going to hallways, and they can be chasing people. So it can be quite involved for the detectives and the forensic specialists to have to look at every bit of what's going on there. And so once they've determined, if they determine the manner of death is homicide, and they can rule out suicide or murder-suicide, then they've got to look at the number of assailants. And if they can get that down to, okay, it's one, then they got to look at friends, acquaintances, relatives, and strangers. And they got to say, who could it be here? Like I say, security cameras can really break a case like this wide open. In a house like that, at the Reiner's residence, I'm sure there's some security cameras there. So if someone egressed that property, they should be able to have that on the film. And that's why the chief of detectives is saying we have to get a search warrant, because they want a search warrant to look at the security cameras. They want search warrants to look in through their computers. They want search warrants to look at everything that the Reiners have, so they can make sure they get the person responsible. Because no matter who you charge, they're going to accuse the police of doing everything wrong, and it's not their defendant, it's not their guy, and you got the wrong guy. So they have to do it very methodically. They need a search warrant to go through all that stuff, and they'll get that tonight. That crime scene will be going on absolutely all day tomorrow, and maybe even into Tuesday or Wednesday. They're not going to be in a hurry, and they're going to let that information come out slowly. Now, as we're discussing, are they interviewing relatives? Yes, absolutely. They're going to interview all the relatives. They're going to interview all the neighbors. They're going to interview the coworkers of Mr. Reiner and their friends. So you can't read anything into just, they're interviewing that neighbor. That doesn't mean anything. It's just they have to gather information. They have to ask questions, and it doesn't mean that because they interviewed someone that they're a responsible party or even a suspect. It just means we need to ask the questions. So they're going to be gathering all that information in the next few days. They'll have a strong forensic scene, and it's highly unlikely, if there's a homicide here, that the killer or killers don't have blood on their clothes and blood all over them, bloody footprints, and of course, the murder weapon or weapons, edged weapons we call them. Is it a knife? Is it an axe? Is it a machete? Is it from the kitchen drawer? I mean, we don't know. We don't know, and the police may know that. They may have the weapon on scene, or it may not even be there. It could have been taken away if it was a home invasion or some kind of other attack. So we have a lot of questions, but it's just a heartbreaking case because. Like all Americans, I've watched this Rob Reiner for years. I remember watching his father, who was so funny, and he's such a great guy. It's sad to see great people have a violent attack like this. It's very sad. So I think the whole country is going to be behind the police to catch the killer or killers responsible for this. No doubt about it. They're going to get a lot of support, a lot of help, and I think they'll come to the answers that we're all looking for.
Yeah, the fact that this is such a household name in so many of those movies and films that are beloved across the generations just adds a little bit of complexity, a lot of layers to this investigation. I want to bring back Carmen Best, the former Seattle police chief. Carmen, as we look at this investigation right now, just a few hours out from the 911 call, what questions do you have at this hour?
Yeah, there'll be a lot of questions that the police are trying to get answered. I've been both the police chief, I've been the chief of investigations, and I've been the department's public information officer. So I've had all three of those positions within my career. So I'm sure that there is a lot of information that they have that they're not able to share just yet. The identity of the victims, although it's been reported by many people, officially it comes from the coroner. The cause and manner of death officially comes from the coroner, even though the detectives are, pretty sure about what they have there. We have questions about motive, who might have wanted to do this and why. I'm sure some of that is already coming, forward as they interview family and friends and others. As was mentioned earlier, they'll be looking at all the video. They'll be getting as much information as they can after they receive the search warrants and after it's all officially done, because they want to make sure everything is done to the letter of the law, T's are crossed and I's are dotted, so they can get as much information as they can legally and professionally. But LAPD is so well experienced at these types of crime scenes that they are going to go through methodically and thoroughly and answer all the unanswered questions. But they're going to start with, trying to figure out how many assailants, if there was any motive, where's the weapon or weapons that were used, who called, how long had they been there, and that type of information. Those things need to be answered right away. And then they're going to backtrack it from every moment that they got there to figure out, who knew what, when, and what may have occurred.
Carmen, we all know the kind of information that can be on social media, and as journalists, we're taught to ignore that and wait until we hear things definitively from our police sources and police officials. But as a police official, when there is so much on social media, how do you discern fact from fiction when you are investigating such a high-profile case like this?
Well, they look at the facts. That they're not worried about the fiction. They look at the facts, and the facts always lead you to the truth.
Do the social media rumors complicate the investigation, or at least complicate the information that is out there and that the public then has questions about?
It can complicate things because people start speculating, but law enforcement officials don't speculate. They look at the evidence and let the evidence lead them to the facts of the case.
Carmen Best, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We thank all of our guests for joining us tonight. We are going to now join KNBC's coverage on the tragic death of Rob Reiner and his wife. I'm Jessica Layton. Thanks for watching.
Anytime soon. We just finished a news conference, didn't get to learn much because the LAPD is playing this by the book. What we have here is what they are calling a death investigation. What we have here is basically a mystery. As you take a look down the street where a CSI command post by the LAPD arrived just a short time ago, they tell us in a news conference just a short time ago that they have not yet been able to gain access inside of the Reiner estate since the initial call came, and that they determined that 2 people were dead inside. When it came to who actually picked up the phone and called 911, the LAPD not releasing the information, the LAPD not even releasing the names of the deceased, even when pressed, said that they would not do that until the coroner makes it official. When it comes to the coroner has not yet arrived here as the LAPD awaits a search warrant. When it comes to a person of interest, a suspect, the LAPD says they're not looking for anyone. This is what happened when we press them further.
So we have officers here at the scene. We have officers in the area. We're not looking for anyone in the Brentwood area at this point. We're not looking for anyone because we're still working on that part of the investigation.
Mayor Bass releasing a statement just a short time ago. You'll see it here, and she says, quote, "This is a devastating loss for our city and our country. Rob Reiner's contributions reverberate throughout American culture and society, and he has improved countless lives through his creative work and advocacy, fighting for social and economic justice. An acclaimed actor, director, producer, writer, and engaged political activist, he always used his gifts in service of others." Mayor Bass went on to say that she as well is heartbroken. Now, when we see you tonight at 11, we hope to learn more about what will entail when it comes to LAPD actually making access inside of the Reiner's estate. But it was interesting, Jonathan and Kathy, there were residents here surrounding me in Brentwood, and one of them was bold enough to say to Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, "Well, are we safe here in Brentwood tonight?" And the chief assured them that they were. Live here in Brentwood, I'm Robert Kovacik. We'll see you tonight at 11.
Robert, we will see you then. Thank you.
The death of Rob Reiner is obviously stunning Hollywood, including his fans. His work as an actor, director, and activist spans decades.
Our Conan Nolan joining us live now in our newsroom tonight with a look back at his incredible career here. Conan.
That's right. So Rob Reiner was one of Hollywood's most successful film directors and producers. He was behind some of the most consequential films over the past several decades. There were rom-coms, but a major film still quoted today regarding the morality of Wall Street. Another major film with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, a military courtroom drama of the first rate. He first, though, caught the attention of the American public as an actor, playing the hippie son-in-law to blue-collar bigot Archie Bunker in the wildly popular and socially controversial 70s TV show All in the Family, which ran for 9 seasons. There were other acting parts, but his main focus was on screenwriting. Director and producer Harry Met Sally was the film that sort of invented the rom-com. There was The Princess Bride, and of course The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. The Wolf of Wall Street, where he played Jordan Belfort. And then this, Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise in the courtroom classic A Few Good Men. Rob Reiner was the son of Carl Reiner. On Howard Stern not that long ago, he talked about how he had a competition with his father. Carl Reiner, also well known in Hollywood as an actor and a producer and a writer. This is what he had to say to Howard Stern about 10 years ago.
It's a constant competition. It wasn't even. There's a lot of competition, and I can tell you that it wasn't until, and this is now, I'm in my mid to late 30s, it wasn't until I did Stand By Me that I started feeling myself. And I thought, okay, I'm carved. I mean, a long, long time it took me to start to carve out my own
identity.
World. Yes, and I said, okay, here's a movie that has this humor to it, but it also has a lot of melancholy in it, which is a real extension of myself.
Rob Reiner was also politically involved. He was a big donor to the Democratic Party, took active roles in helping advise some California Democrats. One of the reasons he got word from Governor Gavin Newsom, who considered him a friend. He was also, back in 1998, the champion of something called Proposition 10, which increased the sales tax on tobacco products from 50 cents, including up to $1 on some tobacco products. That money went to something called First 5 California. It was for child health care and education. It still exists today. He was the person behind it. He was also very much a critic of President Donald Trump. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
Conan, thank you. Right now, we want to go back out to video from our News Chopper 4 over the home of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. Still a lot of activity happening there in the neighborhood and questions yet to be answered about what led up to this apparent stabbing. We'll continue to bring you the latest updates from investigators as they continue to come in. Robert and Conan will join us with more live reports on the NBC4 News at 11 o'clock.
3 minutes of gunfire didn't stop.
This was an attack deliberately targeted at the Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah.
we will not be silenced. As a Jewish people, our light will not be dimmed.
Turning now to our other top story, heightened security at Hanukkah events around the world after a mass shooting in Australia. Officials are calling it a terror attack that was designed to target Jewish people. 15 people were killed and 40 others injured on Bondi Beach. Police have identified a father and a son as a suspected gunman.
Officers shot and killed the father. The son, meanwhile, is in the hospital being treated for injuries, and one man is being hailed as a hero for stopping one of the shooters. Take a look at this incredible video. You can see a man in a white t-shirt crouching behind a car right there before rushing the alleged gunman and wrestling the weapon out of his hands. That video also appears to show a second gunman standing on a bridge nearby, repeatedly firing toward people.
And we want to give you right now a closer look at where this happened, Bondi Beach. It's one of Australia's most iconic beaches. More than 2 million tourists visited just last year. Our Camilla Rambaldi spoke to an LA woman who was in the area for vacation and arrived just moments before all that gunfire went off. Camilla.
Jonathan and Kathy, the woman I spoke with who is from Los Angeles described what took place on Bondi Beach this weekend as a war zone. She says that the gunshots went on for about 9 minutes, so that her brother was volunteering and doing security when the unthinkable happened. A warning, the details you're about to hear are disturbing.
My brother saw utter carnage. He saw murder. He saw victims. He saw a rabbi getting murdered in front of his face. A 10-year-old girl, a Holocaust survivor, and even a police officer was murdered.
Tanya Cohen is recounting today the terror of a deadly shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia.
All I could hear was pop, pop. It was so loud.
Police say 2 gunmen, a father and son, opened fire during an event to mark the first day of Hanukkah. Officials say the father was shot dead by police and the son was taken to the hospital. Cohen, who is from Los Angeles, is visiting family there for the holidays. She says her brother was part of a community security group and volunteering at the festival.
He had a choice whether to run for cover for himself or help save others, and he stayed and ducked down and kept cover so that he could help other bystanders and people be safe because he was there to perform a duty.
Cohen says she arrived at the festival with her parents just moments before the gunfire went off and the chaos erupted.
I was saved by timing. Had I been 30 minutes earlier, I would have been directly in the line of fire.
It was then, she says, she started to hear what she thought sounded like fireworks.
About 2 minutes, us and all the bystanders